We'll be on the air. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning in to the BAMF podcast on our very intermittent Savage Sundays show. And we are here with Clint Black from Pinnacle Entertainment to talk about the Superpowered Companion. How you doing, Clint?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. You have to excuse me for 1 second. I have to play a brief musical intro to assure our listeners and viewers that they're, in fact, listening to a high-quality, high-production values podcast. So just 1 second. That is your assurance, folks, that with those kind of production values, this is a high-quality, artisanally handcrafted podcast coming to your ear holes. And
just like cheese.
Just like cheese. Fermented, just like... I got nothing. All right. Co-host, the witty fellow over here with the swords, is Walt Rebelliard. How are you, Walt?
We're shaking.
Not much. And over here, here is... Damn it, I can't get this right. That guy next to Clint is Sean Knox, the author of The After for SWADE. How you doing, Sean?
Hey, what's going on? Hi, Internet.
Hi, Internet. So, Clint, Superpowers Companion. This is a big deal. Tell us about this.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's been a long time coming that we've been wanting to update the Superpower Companion to the Savage Worlds Adventure Edition. Being the creator of Necessary Evil, it's kind of been something I keep wanting to put on the front burner every time we talk about it, but we've had a couple other little things that popped up here and there, like Pathfinder for Savage Worlds and things like that I had to go off and work on a bit and stuff like that. But we finally have gotten back. This thing has been in the works for some time between Shane and I, and it's not going to be a sea change, really, for folks that are familiar with it. Much like we did with the Adventure Edition, we're trying just to clean it up and make everything run smoother, But make it possible to run any kind of super-powered game, there is. We've got, much like we had in the first one, where we gave them names, but we've basically set it to 5 power levels, 1 through 5. But we're putting more options in there to play different genres of games in those power levels. Instead of saying 4-color is power level 3, we say 4-color is something you might play at power level 3 to 5, because it's a type of game. It's a genre as opposed to a power level specifically. But
that makes sense. Well, break it down for us. What are the different power levels from 1 to 5?
1 to 5, you go from essentially low, street level, your real, gritty kind of stuff. It could be gritty. You could be playing something like the Mystery Men, where your characters just have a couple low level special abilities. Like I'm really good at throwing, but only cutlery, that's my limitation, up to power level 5, cosmic. You are out there flying through space at beyond light speed, if that's what you want to do. You're, Captain Marvel just flying straight through Kree warships. Yeah, because, there's no easier way to take out a warship than to make yourself into the projectile,
Yeah, whatever you said about Brie Larson, that was a really cool scene.
Yeah.
So, well, sweet. Now you talked about kind of like, I think you were talking about like genres or tones when you said 4-color. Can you talk about sort of, how you guys are handling that?
We actually have some sections in it where we talk about, because of what we've added, we've had it before. We've had our setting rules, and setting rules have always been about playing the game to the style that you want the story to be, but also what fits your table. So, we cover some of the setting types and what setting rules would work with them. But we actually have a section in the book called Super Styles, talking about the different styles of game, from 4-color, which, power level, like I said, about 3 to 5, cosmic, which actually could be power level 5. It could be power level 4. You could be telling those cosmic level adventures. That'd be more like your Guardians of the Galaxy kind of stuff and things like that. You're telling cosmic adventures. but you're not necessarily playing the Silver Surfer, that kind of stuff. Gritty, the more street level stuff at power levels, we tend to put them at one or two, the lower levels for that. There's also some options in there we've got for running super powered settings for like fantasy or horror type games, and doing things like that. And then I think the last one we've got is ultra violent.
The Punisher.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to get into, exploring things like that, or like Kick-Ass,
Perhaps the
where
boys.
when you're getting into things where, kind of like our gritty damage rules and stuff like that, it's just going to be more than just you're taking wounds, you're taking injuries, your arm is getting blown off probably and things like that. So, so we've got a whole section separate on that of the styles and what power levels kind of fit them, as opposed to taking the power levels and saying they are street level, 4-color, cosmic, and stuff like that. Just because, like I said, it's been smoothing it out and considering it that playing a 4-color game doesn't have to mean you're playing at that specific power level 3. Could be a 4, and that's just where we kind of go, and also giving some ideas of the setting rules and how to run those kind of games.
I mean, yeah, that's really cool because of having it like a range, like these categories could fit in this range. Because I mean, what if you were doing like I remember Dan Abnett had that great Aquaman story from a few years ago, where Aquaman basically gets dethroned and he kind of goes into like the slums row of Atlantis. And it was kind of like, and I just remembered it because you have your Atlantis background up on the screen, and but like how do you get that street level Atlantis?
I mean, there's a huge difference between Justice League fighting Darkseid and Justice League headquartered in Detroit.
Back in the 70s,
yeah. And I mean, I gotta admit, that was, I liked the Detroit run. I really did, because they put basically Aquaman and Martian Manhunter more front and center. He was the only one out of the, the original ones that kind of stuck around. He led the group and stuff like that. And that was one where somebody really started playing with him. I mean, I've got a soft spot for Aquaman, as some people tell you, because, it's like Aquaman is basically second or third string, but at everything that anyone else in the Justice League does. So when you combine all of those, it's pretty intimidating. When they got into, spoilers for anyone who hasn't been kept up with decades old comics, but when they got in towards the end of Detroit, and you found out that he had been using his telepathic powers to nudge the other members of the league to do what he wanted him to do. But he couldn't control them like fish, but it says at the baseline, everybody came out of the ocean at some point.
Nice.
And he could at least nudge them, the way he wanted to go. And it was like, oh, wow, Aquaman just went, Machiavelli on us.
Yeah, that's 10 pounds of creepy in a 4-pound bag.
Yeah.
And longtime viewer Sean Vera saying hi. Hey, Sean, good to see you, sir. Hope life's okay up there in Canada. And I'm doing okay. As I mentioned to folks on Facebook, I've been recovering from COVID. So on the mend, vitamins. That's my recommendation. So
vitamins. Now, what kind of brought you to the table where you guys were going to start doing your own crowdfunding? Because you Pinnacle in kind of a nutshell has been like the darling of Kickstarter. You guys have really knocked it out of the park every time you go on a Kickstarter. Why the change?
It's not a change. We're still going to be using Kickstarter. I mean, that's absolutely not going away. But the game changers, as we're calling them on our site, our own crowdfunding on our site, has actually been in the works for over a year. There's a whole team Jodi's been part of it, so I've basically been peripheral because I'm on the creative and game design side. But as far as making things work, you know, she's on, you know, she's COO and she gets this stuff together. But as she says, when I talk about how great she is, it's a team effort. It really is to put this stuff together. And it's been a lot of work. And we really appreciate, I want to say offhand, how patient people have been, because we can try and test everything you want. But when you get like 1,500 people backing, you know, thing, some stuff is gonna, you know, you're gonna learn things, and we've tried to take care of them as quickly as we can on that. But the goal with doing the game changers is it gives us some freedom, and it also helps us a bit because with shipping and just the way, you know, the economy's gone overall over the past 18 months or so, and has been, it makes a big difference to us when we can do a crowdfunding on our site and we don't have to pay a percentage to someone else, you know?
Yeah, does that up?
Yeah, it does, you know, and, you know, a lot of people don't think about that when they think of Kickstarter. If you made this much money, and it's like, guys, you can pretty much take, you know, a percentage off of that just off the top before you even get the costs, you know, and a lot of things are available at discounted prices, you know, to begin with. You're getting great deals. And then, you know, on our side, there's a percentage off of that even to begin with. So that lets us do that, but it also lets us, I don't want to say avoid or get around, but it lets us work easier with some of the restrictions that occur with Kickstarter. And some of the things we don't want to, you know, we can't do with Kickstarter of, we're limited in how many Kickstarters we can run by finishing fulfillment on the last one we did. Well, when we've sent PDFs, we've done everything, the books are done, and we're just waiting on print copies to be able to ship. We're done. It's going to happen, but we still have to, you know, tie a ribbon on it at the very end, you know, to move on to another Kickstarter. And this lets us work, you know, with products, you know, things like the companion, that there's stuff we want to do with it, stuff we want to get out there. But is it the same as putting out a setting, a brand new setting? Does it have that same excitement and reach? I don't know. It's definitely done great for us, and we, you know, we're way thankful for everything that's happened. But, you know, we are still looking at the other stuff. I can tell you right now, you know, spoiler, the next thing we've got, our next crowdfunding is going to be Kickstarter, and it's going to be for the Holler setting that we've got, the Appalachian, you know, horror setting that Tim Early's written and done such a great job on. So, yeah, it's definitely not leaving Kickstarter. It's just supplementing it.
Okay, cool. I'm a bad geek. Tell me about the Holler setting. I haven't heard about this before.
Oh, so if you go, if you guys follow or check out the Pinnacle Twitch channel, Tim actually ran a game of Holler on there back last Halloween. Holler, Tim Early is a professor of Appalachian studies. And Holler is all the stories of, you know, the haints and all the things up in the Appalachian Mountains. And it's also got all the, it's set in kind of another time. Yeah, an Appalachian apocalypse. And it deals a lot with some of the stuff that went on of when you had, as they're called in a thing, the bad guys are the big boys, you know? And the big boys are the men who run the giant corporations that want the coal miners to keep mining coal and keep them down living and you know, dealing with all the sickness and ill and a whole lot of the stuff of, you know, you guys know some of the old, you know, terrible stories of, you know, owing your soul to the company store, you know, that you're never paid enough to pay off the debt you owe and everything you get from the store. So it is it's that class struggle that existed, you know, back in like the early 20th century, you know, more so with all of the feel and mythology even that comes from that. I mean, like our alchemists for the setting, because there is magic in the holler, are moonshiners who can mix up their own special batches of shine, each one with its own special abilities. Some will make you feel like $100, you know, and some might cure what ails you.
Permanently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. All right. We'll keep an eye out for that for sure.
Yeah.
So you guys have unlocked just a ton of stretch goals on this. Looks like we got just under 3 days left, and goal of $5,000. You're creeping up onto 85. So congratulations on all that.
Yeah. It's it's been fantastic. It's a little more. I think we end on Thursday specifically, so we've got a little less than 4 days or so to go on it. And yeah, the response has been amazing. I mean, we already had in there some things that I was just really excited about, like getting to do pawns for superpowered characters, miniatures for superpowered characters. And I mean, our base level was, I think, over 90, and they've already unlocked the stretch goal to add even more pawns to it. So, I mean, anybody that's played any superhero or superpowered games since Villains and Vigilantes came out knows how hard it is to find miniatures for that. Well, up until Hero Clicks came out, and you could repaint and repurpose those pretty much.
Yeah, it's some good looking art too, for what it's worth.
Yeah, it's all new art. We've redone all the art for the book. It's all going to be, new art for all the characters. A huge chunk of this book is the Rogues Gallery, covering all sorts of different power levels and all sorts of different things to fight and deal with. So we've got all new art for those characters too. They're in there. So yeah.
So I see stretch goal tool is the $10,000 level was do-it-yourself VTT. What's that?
So the do-it-yourself VTT is kind of our base level of our virtual tabletop support. And that's where we provide the tools for people to set up their own virtual tabletops. The base art, the things of that nature. When we get to the, and I had that on this one, because the VTT team that we've got, handles so much of this, and they handle it so well. But in some of our other settings, it's easier to work out with the particular companies that do this, like Foundry and Fantasy Grounds, and I'm going to forget somebody, and I apologize out there. Sorry, Amy, but they set up packages ready to go for their stuff. The VTT DIY doesn't matter what kind of virtual tabletop you use. Here's the tools to set it up yourself. It's not preset, but it can work for whatever you need.
Yeah, cool. Hey, Sean, I feel like I've been talking a lot, and maybe you've got some rules questions or something, since you're the
Yeah, I've got some kind of nuts and bolts questions, if that's all right. Like for folks that are familiar with the old Superpowers companion, I know you said that there wasn't going to be too much in the way of surprises. So would you say that it's kind of a one-for-one conversion, or are we going to find new powers and little sneaky things like that to surprise folks?
You will find some new powers, yes. You certainly will. You will also find some different power costs. We recost and rebalance a whole lot of things when we did SWADE, and you can see that in the race creation rules.
Yeah.
And the race creation rules have always been, in a way, a trimmed down version of superpowers, in what you're doing. It's much more limited, but it's still in there. So the powers are now more in line with what you see there, They are in line with what you see there. And then based around that, and yeah, there will be some different cost stuff, but I mean, yeah, I got out here. I mean, I can just go through. Let's see if I can find. Oh yeah, it's.
You have a hard copy there, Clint?
I do actually.
Ooh, nice.
It's got the old, just the old cover on it here that we had from SWADE, but this is a working copy I've got at the time, and
I'm trying to reach through the camera and steal it.
Yeah. Good luck. But like, where we had like attack melee and attack ranged before, so we kind of think people could figure it out of just calling it melee attack, ranged attack. They won't be side by side anymore, but it's easier to know the name as opposed to know the attack, melee, attack, ranged.
Right.
If you're looking up something for melee, well, you look up melee, and there's some different modifiers in it. Like we've got modifiers specifically to cover things like bite, claws, horns, those specific type of natural weapons. So, melee attack now melds in with that to understand, like if you built a race with bite, claws, horns, and what those could do. Well, now if you take melee attack for your super, you could say, I have claws,
Okay. So some new toys in the toy box.
Right. Yeah. It's a big part of it, and a big part of what Shane wanted when we started off for this was to make it easy for someone who hasn't necessarily been I've played all these different superpowered games and I want to create a character. What do I look for? And, what's simple as opposed to, and I'm guilty of this because I know the system pretty well of saying, hey, yeah, if I want to create a power that, does X or has, to use another X-Men like Nightcrawler, he's going to teleport around somebody with his sword and attack, 4 times while, in his teleport, BAMF, BAMF, BAMF all the way around him. I'm like, well, I combine that with extra attacks and I do this and that. And, some of that is a given in there, but then some other things like we did with super speed of, if you've got the super speed power, take a modifier to run on water because that's what people expect it to be with. That's where it is, as opposed to saying, I'll take the wall walker special ability and put a limitation on it that it only works when I'm, running fast and only, in certain cases. So yeah, that's kind of our thing, is to make it, a little more intuitive to building your characters just off the bat.
Nice. That's cool. Can you talk a little bit more about the cosmic end of things? Like, can you build a Superman?
No one can build a Superman. I will tell you that right now. And as a matter of fact, I will tell you, I want to see if I've got Shane's sidebar in here.
But you were going to say phone number.
Let me see if I've got Shane. I've got Shane's phone number. Yeah,
get him on here.
Yeah, I wish I could right now, but yeah, he.
Make all of.
But yeah, but we actually have a section in here, and you've seen it in other books, but talking about the fact that, and this is, something Shane's of. Realistically, Batman's never going to beat Superman. X-ray vision and heat vision.
Fanboys, they're everywhere.
I know. People are realistically, but realistically in the comics, the story wins out over, some other aspects, because it's a question of which Superman is he up against? It's the Superman in this comic as opposed to the Superman who moved the moon, or something like that. And that's a big part of writers have an ability that you don't have in game design, so making a Superman type character, that's possible,
Hey, Clint, but what if both their mothers have the same name? Huh?
Mm. Well,
sorry, forgive me.
I know. In that case, I mean, I'm just,
You broke him with the name thing, bro.
I know.
Sorry.
I mean, it's a point of contention between the two of us because I kind of sit there and say, money is a great equalizer. Sure, Superman can have X-ray vision, but when you've got your own satellites in orbit that can track, him, and as I believe, I don't know that it's in that one, but I believe it was in The Dark Knight or one of the other ones where, he's able to put a couple of $1 billion into synthesizing kryptonite from his labs. It's like I can just make my own, and there's a certain part of that of, I love, some of the stories about Batman and all of his, counters against all the Justice League, the old Tower of Babel storyline and everything like that. And then also, I believe it was New Frontiers, where they had a different, meeting in the 60s kind of thing with John Jones, the Martian Manhunter. And he's like, only thing I need to stop you is a 10-cent pack of matches. It's like,
yeah, but, good line.
Yeah, but that's part of it. Are you going to be able to could you make Superman? Absolutely. Which Superman are you trying to make, though? Are you going to make the 1930s one that could jump over tall buildings and actually couldn't fly until they did the animated show and somebody, thought he could fly?
Okay, let's give you one. Let's say Henry Cavill from the,
Henry Cavill from
Snyderverse.
Man of Steel.
Yeah,
I think that's possible. I think that's feasible because he's got some very standardized abilities. It depends a little, bit on it, but I think it's feasible. Justice League carrying an entire, skyscraper of Russians, to safety. I mean, that gets into the whole, at some points, guys, you got to let go of physics, because if one person was holding that up, the entire building would just split on both sides, where they were doing it. But, I think that's feasible. I think that's within the cosmic power levels of getting that, of the flight. He's not flying so fast that he can make the Earth spin backwards and alter time,
Oh, never mind then. No, just kidding. I think once you get up to that certain power level where your characters want to throw around moons and punch out stars, that I think it's really hard to build a role-playing game around that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that really helps, and I think really helps, and we've had this in ours before, but we've actually expanded a bit, is any superpowered game, I think, is very dependent on power stunts. Because a lot of what you see characters able to do, they do when one writer's, doing the comic, or once in a while they'll do this. When Spider-Man creates a web parachute, he's not creating a web parachute every single issue. Yep. Most of the time he's just swinging. And power stunts let you do those kind of things of, hey, I'm going to switch my power to, these power points for swinging. I'm going to switch it to glide, flight-based gliding, or I'm going to do this, or some of the options that we've got in there now are doing power stunts to change the type of damage that you do.
Okay, so there's expanded mechanics for that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, there's a bit of stuff about, much like we did with SWADE, where we expanded out all the uses for bennies beyond just re-rolling, re-rolling for damage. Now you can spend a benny and get a new action card for initiative, and spend a benny to actually alter the story somewhat. Power stunts is basically getting into that as well, of respec. Change out your power points to do something different for a short time, or a one-shot attack, or I'm not hurting him with what I've got, so I'm gonna use my super strength to punch the fire hydrant and spray him with water. Change it to a water-based attack. You just got to. it's really all about facilitating the player's creativity.
Yeah, I like that. Is there anything that is similar mechanically to what we did with the new power modifiers in SWADE? I really thought that was nice.
Well, there are a variety of power modifiers in there. There are the base ones. I mean, power modifiers actually originally came from the superpowered companion, because the original superpowered companion, all the powers had modifiers to adjust what they did. And with SWADE, we just expanded that into the normal power system, basically. But you've got the option of how many power points you spent to get that.
Yeah, it made it really flexible. It was nice.
Right. So essentially, all you do here is when you respec, if you want to get different modifiers on your power, you just respec, and it's like, I'm getting the same power, but I'm changing it from, I've got a huge damage attack, ranged attack, to I'm going to change it to lower damage, but I'm going to give it rate of fire 3.
Nice.
So instead of 1 mega fire blast, I'm going to throw out 3 fireballs or something like that.
So you're going to be a little more flexible within the scope of a single story.
Right. When you respec your points, you can do them any way you want to, but it's going to cost you a penny, to pull that off. We've also got one that was towards the end of design that I really like, and it's not just about PowerPoints, but getting into stunts is one that'll give the option, again, fitting the thing of spending a penny to actually interrupt if you need to try to save an innocent or something like that. It's not as good at the thank you, Professor McLaughlin.
That is a frequent co-host and host of his own show, often on Sundays, the Ghost Show Press pit boss, Christopher McLaughlin. I believe he used to be partners in crime with you guys at one point, wasn't he?
He has been many times. As a matter of fact, in Star City, in the Necessary Evil setting, our big city park is McLaughlin Park.
Nice.
Yeah, really, it's a shout out to Chris, and I've known Chris for years, and he's always been a great friend, a super guy.
He is a mensch.
Yeah.
Speaking of super guys, Jason Sunday, who runs our game we're having tomorrow at Noon Mountain. We're playing actually Savage Worlds for Pathfinder. Jason's our GM. He says Pinnacle always has awesome crowdfunders, and yes, that's true.
And that's one of the reasons, actually, Jason, that we felt comfortable going into our own game changers and doing them on our own site, because we feel like, we've created and built the reputation and the foundation that we're going to fulfill. We're going to follow through, and that we're going to do these things. And that's definitely, what we always try to do is not just fulfill a Kickstarter, but make sure everybody's happy with that fulfillment, and the best ability that we can. And so I really do appreciate that. Yay.
Nice. Well, hey, I had one last question. I think Sean or Walt might have some more, but I didn't want to forget, and COVID has savaged my already meager cognitive abilities. So let me say it before I forget it.
Okay.
One of the big bellwether tests of a super system is, how does it handle Green Lantern?
Well, I laugh because literally Shane and I were just using Green Lantern as an example when we were talking about some design elements in the game, about dealing with the limitations, the hindrances that characters can have the build of, do you have power negation, that his powers don't work when he's covered in yellow, or does he have a limitation, a modifier on the power that they don't work against yellow? And my standard is, why not both? I mean, he gets covered in yellow, none of his powers are really going to work. You throw yellow paint on him, that's, actually, what's his, one of his villains, Goldface, I think, who does that regularly to him. It's coat him in gold, or coat the ring in gold. So that, but then he's also got that he doesn't. But we do have, I think, and we've had this before, we've got various signs of force fields and things like that. But essentially, we've got all the different power types. All those different we've got a whole slew of different power types, which breaks them down between basically energy and matter. Water, matter. Fire, energy, radiation, darkness, which is weird to think of it as an energy, but in comic books, sure, it is. Or it could be a solid, depending on what the character is. But if you take something like energy manipulation or matter manipulation, or the ability to manipulate and create objects, and you choose light as your thing, even if you say that it's matter or force constructs, then you're making a Green Lantern type character, and the real key to that kind of gets into some of the things where you might have, it's debatable, obviously, but I think you could definitely make an argument for Green Lantern actually having a kind of super sorcery, the ability to have any power on the fly that he might need, or she might need, depending on which Green Lantern it is. All
right, cool.
But it depends on which Green Lantern. I mean, if we go with Alan Scott, you could hit him over the head with a club.
This is true.
Yep.
So, Sean, any more questions?
No, I think I'm pretty excited. Maybe the only thing I would ask about is asking for more teasers about the stretch goal adventures that we're getting close to.
Here, Sean, I'll try to hand it through the camera to you. I'd love to get teasers on those, but I can't really.
That's fair.
I apologize, but I can't. On one hand, because I'm not writing any of them myself, and on the other hand, I'm not getting too much into the things that we've reached with stretch goals, because those are expanded content. I mean, one of the things I would have loved to talk about was like the vehicle rules that we kind of opened up and got into because people were talking about them, and Shane's got a great idea for that. It's like, but let's not talk about it yet. Okay,
that's
sure.
fair.
Yeah, that's fair. Because it could change. It could all totally change, especially right. And we could figure something else out, but I gotta be good about some stuff. But
it's hard, isn't it? You just want to brag.
It really is. It really is. I mean, you work on something so long and you put so much into it, and it's like, I want to get it out in the wild, but we're not that far off. We gotta, we really aren't. We'll have it set up and out there, and I'm excited about it.
So these adventures you mentioned, Sean, that's 90,000 stretch goal, right?
Yeah, they're getting close.
Tales of the Doom Guard. Yeah, they're within like $5 or $6 grand. So yeah.
Yeah.
And I won't say any names, but looks like a large fellow with tentacles on his face. Is there on the cover?
Yeah, Doom Guard is very much touching on, I will that much, the reason why we have a whole section on running horror superhero, adventures.
That's a teaser.
As a style. There's a teaser for you.
Yay.
Yes. I kind of thought in the picture gave that away, but okay, sure. But yeah, Doom Guard touches on that definitely, running the horror type adventure. I mean, it doesn't matter how powerful you really are, still a giant tentacled creature from under the sea, and he doesn't even live in a pineapple or anything like that. It's much more dangerous than that, So yeah.
Hey, Clint, it's my show. I make the dumb jokes, okay, buddy?
Oh, sorry, man.
It's all right. I'll let that one slide.
Okay.
Walt, do you have any more questions, sir?
Yeah, just excuse me, allergies. We got on the campaign page, you got all this glorious art. Can you talk about some of the art that is appearing in the books, as well as on the 7,500 stretch goal? You have some of the art from the original Necessary Evil in there. Is Storn coming back for some art duties on this one?
I don't think Storn is, because I think we actually went with all new artists across the board. Now, I'm not sure. I know I can't say for certain because I'm not in art direction. I don't know for certain that the art that we have for the Vasori that is going to be in there isn't the art that we already have for them, because we had that when we did Necessary Evil 2, and that's kind of been out there already, but we might be doing new stuff for that. But with the new art director, art direction, and art team that we've got working on this stuff, we really went out thing. And so I know that, you know, Shane, you know, put them out there to look for different styles and get stuff in, and then he kind of wanted to kind of look at it blind, I think, you know, and make some decisions and on that, and also wanted to really try to keep it to a more cohesive style throughout the book. We kind of had a bit of that in the old SPC and some of the other books, to where we use multiple artists, and you know, we'll still be using multiple artists, but if we can get one whose styles mesh more, so it, you know, it retains a cohesive look throughout the book, I think that makes it smoother for people. It's a little bit jarring to suddenly switch and find, you know, Bill Sienkiewicz has drawn the next art on the next page, and then you get to Jim Lee, and who, you know, how many pockets can there be? Or, you know, it's like,
as long as they can draw feet.
As long as they can draw feet, that's the best part. Yes, that's hard. That really is. But yeah, so
he's still laughing all the way to the bank.
That's true. It's true.
It's better than anything I'll ever draw.
And now he can pay someone else to draw his feet.
Yeah. But I mean, we've got, you know, some great new art in the book. It's black and white, so you're not going to see it in this copy, but now somebody freeze frame that and they'll get some information. That's not even the character that's on that page.
I got you on solo layout right now. You can share whatever you want there, Clint.
Okay, well, this is one that you've actually seen on the page, but in a little bit larger format.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sort of a beast character.
Yeah, it's actually, you know, Bear. And he is unlike many bear kind of characters in the comics. He's not a human that transforms into a bear. He's a bear that's been basically gene uplifted, and you know, ironically enough, is not happy to have been some mad scientist experiment. Who knew?
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Ursine.
Right. Yeah, but he, you know, I mean, most of these characters, I mean, we try to cover what their power levels are, where they're at. So, you know, there are some of these that you could pull out and say, hey, I want to play that. It'd be fine. But we're going to have the, you know, the archetype cards. And like we've already hit those as stretch gold of archetype cards for the different power levels. And so those will already be out there and ready to go. And I think that'll cover 90% of what folks want. But, you know, if nothing else, hey, I want to play an uplifted bear character. Well, here, you know, here's a character in here. Go ahead and look it over. And here's a baseline for, you know, what you're looking at. You know, spend your points wisely.
And you could go and throw those into those street level style campaigns at like 1 or 2, right? Level 1 and 2.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, it just, you know, all the characters that are in here, I mean, are set up at different, you know, levels. I mean, we've got things on common criminals. You know, we've got definitely, you know, different groups too, you know, that are in here. There is a section on, you know, the Doom Guard in here. I actually have a wonderful little spot in this preview copy where there's a note from Simon that works for him that goes, let's get a logo for Doom Guard here. And I'm like, that's just a wonderful piece of art. We had this. Like he just decided to put that in there. But yeah, I mean, we've got some bad guy groups. We've got those kind of things. I think we've even got the Graveyard Shift in there, which are the characters. I think we've got them in there, or that we're going to have them in a supplement from Necessary Evil. And they were part of our original villain supplement that we did for the last Superpowered Companion update. But
So
yeah,
like, say you bought Necessary Evil, back in the day, and you get this new, you get the new superpower companion, and you want to run Necessary Evil again, but you don't necessarily want to go out and get SWADified on, how backwards compatible is it?
well, because it got unlocked, all the Visori, stats are going to be in there.
Oh, right on.
They're going to be in the superpower companion. So all you really have to do is say, if it says these are the bad guys you use in this encounter, just pull them out of the superpowered companion, and then
great.
build your characters using the power levels that are in there. I mean,
that's dope.
Yeah, I mean, and it's pretty simple. I mean, Necessary Evil, the original, pretty much straight up would be power level 3. Necessary Evil 2 Breakout, power level 2, and we definitely, have thoughts about other versions of Necessary Evil at other power levels that I'm probably not supposed to talk about.
Well, I don't want to get you in trouble with Pinnacle.
Yeah.
But
any more than I already am.
All right, so Pinnacle is obviously known for Deadlands, and is there the Deadlands superhero power companion mashup?
I think you could probably pull that together. Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's feasible to put superheroes in any setting. I mean, you've seen it time and time again when the Justice League goes to the Wild West and has a crossover story with Jonah Hex, or even when you have like the original the Southwest Avengers, when you'd have like the original Ghost Rider, and the characters pulling together, Lobo, I think, Lobo, Red Wolf, and Lobo was his wolf actually, but yeah, you pull together characters like that. I mean, most of those guys you're probably looking at, you're running a supervillain game, power level 1, maybe go into power level 2. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, classics. But I mean, you could easily, switch into that. I know. I think we've got folks that are looking at like either on Swag or as a licensee doing a fantasy setting for, superhero fantasy kind of set up. And I have actually had something in the back of my mind to do something like that at one time, where basically the god of death decides to kill all the other gods, but all of their energy basically just gets spread out across the earth into different people, granting them partial powers of the gods. And so suddenly you have no gods in the world, but you have demigods all over the world, essentially. And you get a fantasy campaign. Supers.
Coming 2022?
Yeah, right. Let's hope for 21-22.
Yeah, Sean and I were having a conversation about this very subject just a few hours ago, actually.
I mean, you can do, and they have, you can do supers in every combination mashup.
Oh, it's a very flexible gender.
Yeah.
Did I say gender? I meant genre. Good Lord. Forgive me. Forgive me. Jesus.
Yeah.
Ruined by Twitter.
You're canceled, Mike.
I know. Sorry. So, yeah, it's a very flexible genre.
Right. Yeah, I had a home group once that tried to model D&D and use the superpowers powers to kind of model the real high-end fantasy D&D style stuff you'd get. It was super fun.
That's one of my favorite things about the superpowered companion, by the way. And one of the things that has, I love when people do this, and it was actually one of, which not at Gen Con right now, obviously not making it, but one of my favorite Gen Con memories was being at our booth there and having someone come up behind me and say, "Excuse me, are you Clint Black?" And I turn around and there's this young kid behind me who's, like up just the chest level on me, rail thin, all black leather and silver studs and mascara and black hair and everything. And I'm thinking, maybe you got the wrong guy, because it's like that. And he said, I wanted to thank you for the superpower companion because I saw on the forums where you talked about using it to create packages for different kinds of settings, because I had talked about how you could easily do that to create originally it was like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer setting of you'd have a Slayer package and then a package for different demon types or vampires with souls or whatever, and then even the other characters who weren't that could buy other things like buying super edge and have more edges or more skill points just by spending their points there, but remain human. And this guy says, I converted my Vampire the Masquerade game to Savage Worlds using the superpower companion to do all the clans and their different abilities.
Oh, cool.
And he says, and it has been phenomenal. And I was like, I have a goth. Like, oh my gosh, but I mean, it was so exciting to hear about that, because that's exactly the kind of thing I love people to do is, take this and go somewhere I never expected, do those kind of things. People do Star Wars with it. There's some of the Star Wars conversions of Jedis have powers, but freaking Han Solo has marksman and ace and all these other edges, and his piloting skill with super skill in piloting, and things like that. So, yay, yeah. But yeah, so I'm excited about it for that too, because there's more flexibility. Like you said, you could do it high level D&D. There's more flexibility with these powers to do. Because in many ways, high-level D&D is superpowered people in a fantasy world.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do the classic D&D resource grind, I think Savage Worlds is a really good, exciting system, just because it's so swingy and crazy and fun, really over the top. I think it fits really well, that genre, in with the superhero rules. And,
if you don't want that, I will say there is a little Pathfinder for Savage Worlds that's out there that if you want to play that kind of fantasy, that's right there, set, ready to go. Yeah. Just saying.
that might be a thing.
Yeah.
We will be playing that noon Mountain Time on this very channel, and also on Sci-Fi Writers Play Old School D&D Twitch channel.
Yeah.
So.
You will also see a rule that's in Pathfinder will show up in the Superpowered Companion, actually. I'll even spoil that. The idea of the limited action or limited free action, where you can only perform one of those actions per turn. It's still a free action. Doesn't mean multi-action penalty, but you're limited to one per turn. So it allowed us it really opened up a lot of things and made a lot of things easier for how some superpowers work, to where you couldn't just simply switch between every power you have within one turn. If you have the ability to switch between certain types of powers from one to another, once per turn, you can do that. The limited free actions, they give us that opportunity. So yeah, you'll see that.
Is that a BAMF podcast exclusive there, Clint?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. See, folks, this is a quality podcast.
There it is.
Wrapping exclusive information.
That's
here. Where else do
quality
you get
right
that?
there.
That is quality right there.
You just leveled up, Mike.
I know. I'm going to be like Joe Rogan here before too long. I just got to get some of that horse medicine, and I'll be on the same level. So, all right, guys. Any other questions? Are we ready to wrap it up? Walt?
I'm good.
Sean?
Oh, I've heard plenty. I'm ready to jump in on this with both feet.
All right, sweet. Hey, you got a sail.
Great.
Just one.
Just one. And if you just Google the phrase Savage World Superpower Companion, it comes up. We've got the
it comes
URL there.
right up.
Yeah. You've got some good SOE there. Got the link there on a banner. We'll put it in the show notes too. Clint, it is always a pleasure talking to you, sir. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. It's great.
No worries. I have to play that quick musical outro just to once again reassure our listeners that this is a quality, artisanally crafted podcast you're listening to. Just one second. Branding. All right. Thanks for checking it out, folks. Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight, and we will see you next time on the BAMF Podcast.